Welcome to the Coronavirus Diaries show with me, Vasilis Katsardis. Today, I have the honor to have as my guest Anne Faber, one of my good friends and former colleagues at the Associated Press uh, many years ago in London, or let's say a few years ago. I remember, Anne, since back then you wanted to start a blog about cooking, and now you have even your own cooking show in Luxembourg, where you're based. Am I right? Do you want to
Yeah,
tell?
I actually, hi Vasilis. I actually remember in the newsroom bringing you cookies and cakes whenever I baked, and you guys were always saying, "Anne, you should start a food blog," and I did.
And I think we were right.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think you were.
so tell us a little bit about the show now. Uh, how is it? What is it called? Where is it? Where can somebody watch it? About your website as well.
So I basically have a cooking travel TV show called Anne's Kitchen, which I started about 7 years ago now. Oh my God, that's a long time ago. And I started actually filming it in my little kitchen in London. And it was really fun. And I made recipes that I loved, and people really liked watching it. And I have my blog, Anne's Kitchen, as well. And what's interesting is that I have had 5 seasons of my show so far. It evolved into a travel show. So the latest season, which was filmed 3 years ago, was me traveling through Asia, through Bangkok, Hong Kong, and Tokyo, and eating my way around there. Um, and the interesting thing is, and we're going to talk more about this, but I'm back now in my little kitchen in Luxembourg, which you kind of see behind me here, filming recipes for staying home to actually get people inspired during this really weird coronavirus crisis we're in, to get them inspired to actually cook well and eat well and be happy and get happiness through food.
I guess it's difficult to have a travel show in the times of coronavirus, unless we're talking about taste traveling, like metaphorically speaking.
Yeah, you're right, actually, which is a very big thing. People, I mean, food and memory and food and taste is just such an amazing thing.
How is the situation now in Luxembourg in terms of the coronavirus? I mean, I don't want you to tell me how many people unfortunately have died or something like this, but more, how's your daily life? What has the government done? This kind of issue? What kind of difficulties you're facing?
So the government put us into kind of a lockdown about 2 weeks ago, mid-March. It was interesting because at first we were still, the restaurants and the bars were open for another 3 days, and then they announced a stricter lockdown. So now we are in a situation where all the shops are closed except for food shops, pharmacies, and really essential shops. So we are allowed to leave the house, but only if we really have to. But the funny thing is, it's been a gorgeous week. So we've had amazing 16 degrees, sunny blue skies every day. So it's very hard for people to stay inside. So what I noticed is that a lot of people are really going for walks, which technically is fine, because if you go alone or if you go with the partner who lives with you in your house, it's fine. It's just that people should really keep the 2 meter distance. That's really something important. But it's really strange being in a relationship where you don't know when is the next time you're going to see each other again. It's just and to be also in a situation where there are borders in Europe again. So you need to think about this. Luxembourg is a tiny, tiny country bordering on France, Belgium, and Germany. Now Germany has reinforced the borders, which is for us, I mean, if I go in a car, I'm in Germany in 10 minutes. I'm in France in 15 minutes. I'm in Belgium in 20 minutes. So to know that now the borders are closed. I mean, I grew up with Schengen. For me, Schengen is normal. We had borders. I haven't had borders in 25 years. And to know now that I can't be free to cross my country borders, it's really a strange feeling. It's very, very strange. And it's also a reality that's bigger for Luxembourg, because Luxembourg has 600,000 inhabitants, but 200,000 cross-border workers who cross the border every day to make our country function. And 60% of our healthcare personnel is actually cross-border healthcare personnel. So people from France, Belgium, and Germany coming to work in our health system. So when Germany shut the borders, the government was really, really worried that we would be missing on our health staff. So they kind of did some negotiations and managed to get certificates for people who work in Luxembourg. And they're also putting them up in hotels in Luxembourg to ensure they don't have to do hour-long queuing to get back into their country in the evening. And the solidarity is important. Luxembourg has now taken in patients from France, from the Alsace region, which is just bordering our country, because our hospitals at this stage are still very much coping very well. Actually, the government has done amazing work to really set everything up. So now we're taking in patients from Alsace to treat them.
Are you worried that, except for not seeing your boyfriend for a long time, that this might be a longer situation about Schengen borders being closed, about fear and terror among the population? Not in terms of terrorism like before, like in
No.
because of the virus. Are you afraid of this, or are you positive and are you feeling in your heart that we'll go through it and we're fine?
I'm pretty positive about it all. I mean, I know it will take as long as it takes, but I think what I can see around me is a lot of people who are really showing acts of solidarity. I mean, the neighbors are suddenly helping out each other. Every time I'm cooking for my show, I'm actually texting my neighbors saying, I'm putting out some lasagna in front of my doors, just come pick it up. I like how people are really connecting these days. On Instagram, I get a lot of people saying to me they really like the fact that I'm radiating some positive vibes in this time. So on that hand, I think that there's more communication and solidarity between people. I really don't think the border situation will be an ongoing thing, because the European leaders are now all talking together and really looking for a joint exit strategy. So it wouldn't make sense to then still implement borders. And I'm sorry, a virus doesn't know any borders. They don't have a passport. So you can't tell them to stay away. No, I think it's going to be all okay. I'm more concerned about the economic repercussions that will happen afterwards. And already so many small businesses are really, really worried. I myself, the day that it got clear that we are really in a serious situation, I got all my events and cooking classes cancelled. And I'm self-employed, so this is what I rely on. And I was really worried. And that's when I came up with this idea of, just because I was bored, also I was thinking I need to do something. So I came up with this idea of creating recipes for staying home. So a series of comfort food recipes to inspire people to cook food that's like a warm hug to the soul, that makes them feel happy. Because at the end of the day, if you're in quarantine, what do you want to do? You want to eat and drink well and just be happy on some level.
Give us some of these ideas of the recipes. Not tell us the whole thing on the procedure, but maybe some recipes. People might be interested.
Well, I guess recipes with things that you have lying around, like I guess making a risotto, if you have risotto rice, of course, but you can throw in anything in a risotto. And the nicest thing is that the next day you can actually shape it into a ball, coat it in breadcrumbs and deep fry it. And you've got an arancini, which I absolutely love. Or stir fries are a great thing. I mean, egg fried rice, where you can throw in anything. Omelets are great. Omelets are also, if you have eggs, you can just like throw in any kind of curry powder or things. I really love it. I think, there's so many recipes you can do. What I'm particularly trying in my show is to give people a bit of flavors from home. So the recipes are always kind of sprinkled with Luxembourgish flavors. So we have a lot of smoked meats. So I had a quiche where I added actually our typical flavors from a Luxembourgish smoked meat dish into it. And people like that because it is a flavor that they know, but in a different version. So with a little twist. And I think it makes people happy. The fact that I didn't have that I suddenly had no more work, and then I came up with this project. And since my TV show has always been broadcast on RTL, the Luxembourgish TV channel, I approached my program manager and I just said to him, look, I've just come up with this idea of like doing some recipes for people to keep them inspired. Would you want to have a few online recipes, like just recipe texts with photos for your online content? Not thinking much of it, and he calls me and he goes like, Anne, this is exactly what we were looking for. Can you send us video recipes every week? And I was like, well, yeah, but I really don't want any cameraman to enter my house. I mean, I'm in isolation. You can't send crew. And normally for a cooking show, you have at least 3 people in a kitchen with me, like to film and to do the lighting and to do everything. So he was like, well, can't you film yourself? And I was like, okay, well, how do you do that? And that's where my AP training comes back in. When we worked at the Associated Press, us both, you know, they made us do everything back then. So I was a VJ back then, but I never was in front of a camera. So I needed to figure out a way to film myself cooking and not having the camera in one hand, because if you cook, you need both hands. So I ended up actually finding a way to shoot my show with an iPhone, which is insane, and a gimbal. And as a tripod, I'm actually using a step ladder, a very high step ladder, which I move around the kitchen. In this time, and generally in all these crazy changing times that we are in, the one thing that we all need to learn is to be resourceful and to find new ways of doing things, to think out of the box, because that's where the job market is going. I mean, automation and things we're talking about a lot these days, that people are worried about not having jobs anymore. But just the same in the kitchen in these times when you go to the supermarket and you might not be able to find everything you had on your shopping list. Well, then you need to be creative if you still want to make the same dishes.
Do you find it harder also psychologically to go now to the supermarkets or to find all the things that you're looking for in order to cook, not only for the show, but for yourself?
Yeah, so since the lockdown, I've been to the shops 3 times, which is a lot. I was planning on going once, but I needed batteries for my for my microphone one day, and I was like, okay, I have to go to the shop. What I noticed is that they're very well stocked, but there's a few staples that started to go missing. So everybody in Luxembourg is talking about the problem of finding flour for baking, which I never, ever in a million years would have thought that flour would become the thing that if the apocalypse comes is going to be out. You know, I would have thought wine or cheese or I don't know, pasta, yes, but not flour. So people seem to be baking. Yeast is another thing that's completely gone, but you can make your own yeast. So that's something that is an alternative. And I noticed puff pastry. I wanted to make like a little, what did I want to make? Oh yes, a quiche, or like not a quiche. I wanted to make something else with puff pastry, and I don't really make puff pastry myself. It's too much work. It was out, so I was like, huh, that's interesting. So a few little things that are no longer there. Toilet paper, obviously, gone. I don't know what they cook with it. I really don't know what people cook with that stuff.
Yeah. I hope you're not using it in your recipes, I was about to say, yeah.
We've all grown up with disaster movies. I mean, we've all seen like, I don't know, The Day After Tomorrow or 28 Days Later, or I don't know, we've all seen it. And now we're actually kind of living one. So a lot of people have these images in their mind of people stockpiling, and you know, in those movies, the stuff that's going missing is also in those movies is the toilet paper, and people buy the cans. So I think that's why people are going crazy, and they think, oh, I need to buy those things like I saw them in the movies. I don't know. When I knew they were doing a lockdown, I went to the shops and I bought lots of vegetables, cheese. I still have a lot of wine here, so that's fine. And I think I also got, yogurt and fresh stuff that I knew, okay, well, I have enough staples at home.
You said before that we need to be resourceful. This is very important. I find it as well in our kitchen, that this is the issue. I think about things a lot more than before. Mm-hmm. So what do you have any good recipes to give for when we have leftovers, for example?
Well, I think one of the great leftover tips is really a quiche, if you can make one and throw them in, because it's always great. An omelette is fantastic for leftovers because eggs go with everything. And I really like the fried rice with kind of bits of meat and like, I don't know, some peas thrown in, just like anything. One trick about doing a fried rice, make sure the rice was cooked the day before, because it should be completely cold when it hits the pan, because otherwise you end up with a mushy rice. So if you want to have like the proper Asian style stir-fried rice, you can crack an egg in as well, and it's egg fried rice. I love that. I think that is great.
Is the government actually helping self-employed people workers, businesses right now in Luxembourg? Have they taken measures? Are they thinking of more? I mean, this is an epidemic, which means that it's not something that everybody knows. Oh, it's textbook. We open the page, we open chapter 2, page 56, paragraph B. This is what we do, so.
Absolutely. And I'm just double checking online because I want to be right with my figures, but Luxembourg is doing an incredible stimulus package, financial stimulus package for the economy. And I'm just checking, they are putting in 9 billion euro into the Luxembourg economy. It's incredible. I mean, our Prime Minister, Xavier Bettel, said whatever it takes, they will put all the money in it to make sure that we're getting out on the other end well. At the moment, I mean, they're putting in all different incentives. Every day there are, again, news about how they will help, but they really make sure that people are getting through this. One of the things is they have something called the chômage partiel, which is part unemployment. I think that's something that's widespread across Europe at the moment, where they guarantee 80% of people's incomes. But they've decided for people who are on the minimum wage that they will not get 80%, but they will stay on the minimum wage, which I think is a great, again, something that shows, wow, this country is really, really caring about and has the financial means to do so. Again, our Prime Minister, he insisted a few times that we are very lucky to be an incredibly well-to-do economy. So they are happy to really help now and put money back into the economy to really make sure that we'll get on the other end. So, but still, you never know. But it's important that there is some kind of strong stance from the government as well, that they will help, because we're all in this together. And if one of us falls, then the others will also follow. So one of the things that I wanted to tell you as well, which is great, a few of the shopping malls in Luxembourg have now announced that they are not charging their shops any rent during the actual crisis, which I think is also a big gesture, because again, these shops might not make it if this is continuing for a long time. I think we all need to keep positive in some way and really hope that there will be an exit strategy soon. And I think maybe it also teaches us that in Europe as well, if you're a bit sick, you should maybe wear a mask or not go amongst people. Because I've often noticed in Europe that people are still going out when they're sick and they're still kissing everybody hello. And then they say, oh, I've been in bed with fever for the last days. And you're like, whoa, you just touched me. So maybe it's also giving us a bit of new, distancing or respect rules, So I think that there is a good in this crisis. I also think that a lot of people will come out of this crisis as great chefs, because they will probably have discovered their love for cooking. And if that's one thing, that would really make me happy, because I think people should cook at home if they can, and know how beautiful and rewarding it is to have a home-cooked meal. So maybe that's one good thing of the crisis.
And also families that suddenly might be cooking all together.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Which is something that doesn't happen so often, unfortunately. It's not like a common activity. It's usually somebody cooking and the others are doing something else.
That's
but
true.
Now it might become a hobby, like playing a board game, or
Yeah, you're right.
finishing a puzzle or something like this.
Yeah. No, that's true. So the last good thing that might also happen is that we discover a bit more the localism, like what you said, that you did some research to find some farms where you can order local produce from. And I noticed as well in Luxembourg, a lot of people are now trying to support the local, butchers and the local bakeries, and also the producers and the farmers. And that would be a great move as well, if we could become a bit more aware and supporting local business, instead of just always going for the big brands,
The last thing I was thinking, and I've been thinking a lot about it, is that if this pandemic had taken place 10 years ago or 20 years ago, like 20 years ago, I didn't even have internet in my house. So I think we would be in a much more difficult situation, all of us, psychologically even. Anne Faber, I wanted to thank you very, very much for
Thank
this.
you.
Thank you for coming to the Coronavirus Diaries. And I wish you all the best for your show and for yourself. Stay safe and healthy. Stay at home.
Thank
And
you.
we'll talk again soon.
Yes, thank you.